Well, all right.
Welcome back to As It Should Be. Paul Bertolino here in the world famous As It Should Be studios.
There he is.
He's right there.
Whoop.
Yep.
There I am. Crystal Durant
Whoop, here I is.
Oh, shit.
in the world famous As It Should Be studios.
I see her.
Yeah.
Here I am.
But you know what? Tommy and her have something in common because this is Tommy Von Voigt. And he's in the world famous As It Should Be. He was used to be. He was used to be.
What happened? He's gone.
Oh, no, he's back again.
Everywhere.
Oh. Tommy Von Voigt in the world famous As It Should Be studios and your face.
Yes.
Both simultaneously. We're here to discuss our favorite albums of 2013.
And we're doing it for you.
Oh my God. For you,
Damien.
It's all for you.
Damien.
It's all for you.
For you, Damien. And Crystal gets the start.
Yeah. All right, let's get to it.
God.
The excitement.
I hope I'm as
I can feel the
enthusiastic
excitement.
as she is.
It's 2013. Nothing fun happened. No fun facts.
Oh.
Yeah.
I have no runners-up, no honorable mentions, no honorable mentions.
Nope.
I don't even have a list.
You don't have even one album?
I do not even have one album. I swear. Nothing.
You want to know something? What? I won't reveal it, but I'm not too far behind you.
Yeah.
Well, I think we already know what that means. But,
seriously. This was the one that took...
Let's unpack that.
Okay, yes, we may as well make something out of this segment,
Yeah.
right?
So...
Let's discuss.
I looked through every list of everything, and I literally could not find anything that I would put on a list in the top 10. I'm serious. It really is disturbing. And I tried and I tried and I tried, and I could not for anything that I liked. There was nothing that I really liked that was worthy of me putting on a list.
So you basically didn't want to just fake it and just put shit that was passing.
Yeah, because
acceptable.
I wouldn't do that. You know,
I get you. I get you.
There was literally nothing. It was, this is Taylor Swift era. This is a lot of music that I don't like, that's not for me. And then there, I guess I was listening to Purple Rain too much.
Crystal, look, I've come this close as well as we've been doing these last batch of episodes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gotten really
dire, as I've been saying. It's very, very dire. And I'm going to sit here and listen to what you guys have, and I'll be like, oh, okay, but I might not know what it is. Maybe I listened to it, maybe I heard it once, but not enough for me to put on a list.
Well, you know what? Here, I'm going to propose something, all right? So we know that we like to engage with the people that watch, and they always post awesome stuff in the comments. So given the situation we have here for 2013, where Crystal was left feeling just completely fucking cold by the entire year.
I'm freezing.
Come at us in the comments and try to prove her wrong. Try to actually give examples of stuff that she would really... feel justified in putting on her list
based on what you know about her taste from past lists.
Don't just list random shit you
that
like.
You like. Think what you actually think she would like.
Something that
I like.
If she checks it out, that she's gonna be like, oh fuck, you're right.
Yeah.
So and so, I should have had this on my list.
And that'll be a very special episode. Me I
have a couple on my list actually that I'm gonna suggest.
You do?
To her.
Okay. Yeah.
So let's see. No, I want to see if this is actually possible because it might prove to not be possible.
Yeah. I think people will come up with stuff, and now that Paul's calling me out here, I want to see what he's got. But
well, there's a couple things that I think would have been on your list. You just probably just didn't run across them.
Yeah,
that's basically.
I looked through. Billboard. I looked through this. I looked through that. I just couldn't.
There's nothing seemed enough that you were like, yes, obviously.
Even like in a half-hearted, half-assed way, like. Okay, if I gotta put something, I'll put this. Like, I was not feeling it. And it's weird, but I really did try. For weeks.
Well, look, I get it, because I've said before that when I do these, I go through the list of everything that came out month by month, and I do, like, my brain dump. I put everything on the list of things I want to go ahead and reassess, and then when I do, I go back, and I usually chop about half of that stuff out of there. And that's why I'm ending up with 3-album lists, 4 or 5-album lists for these years, because I don't want to leave stuff in there that I'm just like, I could if this was playing in a car I was a passenger in, I wouldn't want to jump out of the car. You know what I mean?
Like, that's the most you can say for it.
Yeah, that to me is not enough justification just to pad my list length out. And I'm somewhat grading on a curve as it is in these years to a degree.
Right.
But I don't want stuff in there that's just obvious filler that I would never give a second glance to, even as an honorable mention in another year.
Yeah.
So if that's how this year left you, then...
It left me with a cold, cold heart.
Right.
Well, damn. All right.
Yeah, sorry.
Now the question is, do we go to commercial or do we just move on to me? I mean,
Move on, because it's
probably could.
It's 2 minutes and 17
well, you know what?
seconds.
Actually, let's just move. Let me just do mine without going to commercial.
Yeah.
Because that's just one or two less commercials from 2013 that I have to try to find. That's as difficult as finding albums that you like.
And it's less
expediting the
it's less
process.
2013 advertisements you have to suffer through too.
Yeah.
Because even the commercials are starting to get less and less pleasant this week. Yeah.
All around, it's a win.
Yeah. Well, I will say this. I said this to you before. I don't remember if I said it on camera, on tape.
On the air.
But the way I'm kind of approaching the commercials now as we're in this period is I pretty much try to make it music related.
Yeah.
Because your average commercial that takes you back to that time, no thank you.
Yeah.
It's just,
I
so
agree.
you want it to be like, oh, look, funny, Ozzy Osbourne, blah, 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 as being a buffoon. And,
That was funny.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
I
Yeah.
like that commercial.
So that's the best I'm really able to do during this period. So let's see if I found any for this episode. But anyway, all right, well, let's just go right on to my list.
Hit it.
Okay, well, I have 5 honorable mentions.
I don't even understand.
I don't know how that's possible.
Well, to be fair, though, I mean, a lot of the bands on these lists these full lists that I'm presenting are bands you guys don't know, so you don't even know if you like them or not. So it isn't even
Right.
Yeah.
Kind of like a lot of the lists that people are giving us in the comments.
Exactly. Tons of stuff I've never heard of. Yeah.
Okay, so my first honorable mention is probably technically just a mention. I think it kind of was one of the first things I put down when I started this list because it was one of the first things I remembered that came out this year, and I thought things were going to be more dire for me than they turned out to be. Black Sabbath 13. I liked it at the time, but then the more I listened to it, I realized, oh no, they're just kind of trying to rewrite past songs, really.
Yeah, I didn't like it even on first listen.
I mean, at the time I thought it was okay, and again, it ended up on the list because I thought I probably was going to have to resort to it. I guess I just never ended up deleting it. Okay, Kurt Smith, Deceptively Heavy. Some more perfectly good, serviceable solo Kurt Smith. You kind of can't go wrong with Kurt Smith. Sometimes his records aren't as good as others, but he doesn't have any shitty records. He has one with Tears for Fears, but that's another story. Camera Obscura, Desire Lines. I've talked about them before. I'm not going to go into it here. Valley Lodge.
Oh, snap.
Valley
Okay.
Lodge, Dave Hill. Now, Dave Hill is a comedian that you may or may not... Are you familiar with Dave Hill? He's a comedian. He lives here. Yeah, he lives in New York. And our friend Phil, who's the guy who started Tragedy, and our friend Eddie Eyeball,
Yep.
bass player, this band. They had this band. The band still exists, but not everybody's still in it. Phil's not in it anymore. But, yeah, they make these really great pop, rock, catchy... Fun records.
Yeah.
Valley Lodge almost was on my main list, but I ended up coming up with so many good ones that it ended up getting bumped down to honorable mentions. Miles Kane, who I mentioned before, Don't Forget Who You Are is the album. It's the second album by this guy. I talked about him. He was my number 10 a couple of episodes ago. The British guy, I guess this probably is any number of people I've put on my list, but the British guy who's kind of 60s.
The white British guy. Yeah.
That guy. Okay, so on to my actual list. Okay. My number 10. Lady with Lady. Yeah, some more of that good retro soul. They had a really... I think they had one, maybe two... When we were doing the singles of the year list, I had a single on, I guess we were doing the teens episode. Man, this is a really great album. It's the only album that they did as a duo. It was these two women doing, again, kind of the daptone. It doesn't sound daptone, but it's retro soul.
Yeah.
Really great catchy singles on here, great album. they played one show in the U.S., I believe. They came to New York and they played Joe's Pub.
Oh, wow.
And I went because I really loved this album. Money, Get Ready, I'm Ready, I'm really, really ready. Great songs on this. So they came and they played their first show in the U.S. They were playing at Joe's Pub and I went to see them. It was so fucking good. It was amazing. It was these two women who had been friends for a long time, and they had a lot of chemistry. It's kind of like, you know how us, when we do these episodes, we have a lot of chemistry when we do these episodes. We really bounce off each other and we have inside jokes, and they were like that on stage. You could tell they had all this history together, and they were really fun to watch, and they were just really, they worked off each other really well. Such a great show. I shot a couple of videos. They're online. I'll put links in the description. You can actually see what I saw at Joe's Pub. And at the end of the night, I went and I met them, and they signed the record. I went and met them. There's a picture I'll show you right here. Actually, no, I'm not going to show you right here. It's going to be a vintage photo time photo. I'm getting ahead of myself. Anyway, that's it, Lady. It's a great record. But I guess I should give you sort of a post-mortem. Right after this record, they fell out.
Oh.
Yeah. They fell out. One of them left the band, like, right after this. And now it's under the name of Lady Ray. Lady Ray is one of the women who kind of goes on with the project kind of as a solo artist. And, but it was really kind of this tragic thing because it was such a good show. The record's so good. They were phenomenal together live, and I was looking forward to, like, this was their first record, so I thought, this is gonna get good.
Wow, that's a bummer. I wonder why they broke up.
And that was that. Okay, but number nine, Mark Lindsay. Mark Lindsay of Paul Revere and the Raiders. He's put out a number of things, records and EPs, or a song here or there. And his stuff has been okay. Sometimes he'll, a little 80s for my taste, but like in that cheesy sort of like somebody who kind of sounds like they're doing 80s demos kind of vibe.
Oh, okay.
Who in the 90s thinks that's still,
right,
making them cutting edge, that kind of vibe. Mm-hmm. This album, Life Out Loud. Fucking great. Somebody grabbed Mark Lindsay, like these, I don't know if it was a producer or if it was a band, but they brought him into a studio and they put together these songs like in the studio with the band and just ripped through them live in the studio, and it smokes.
Wow. And
Mark sounds great. They're just like kick-ass, just like garage rock fucking... Basically, Mark Lindsay should have made a whole string of this album. Like, this is the album he should have been making all along. Kind of like how the Monkees came back with the last album, the last good album they did, Good Times. That's like, every time the Monkees came back and made a new album, it should have kind of been that. This is that album from Mark Lindsay. It's really, really good. So if you're Paul Revere and the Raiders fan and you haven't listened to this. Number 8. The Minx. With, what's the name of the album? Tide's End. it's kind of a new album to me. The Minx with Tide's End. This is another one of those dreamy, synthy, 80s type bands that I really like. It's just yet another one of those. But
all dreamcore. That
I've become a sucker for. It's another sort of room in the house of Paul Core.
The house of Paul Core.
I've added rooms here. I'm adding rooms.
I like that.
Adding a new wing.
It's a mansion.
Yes, a wing. It's a whole wing, really. Yeah, it could be its own wing, really. Okay. Number 7. David Bowie with The Next Day. David Bowie. This was his comeback album.
Yeah.
And he kind of vanished. He didn't do anything for like 10 years. And so I don't know if I talked about this when we did the singles. I may have already told this story, but I'm going to tell it anyway. One night in 2013, I was sitting there and I'm looking at it's late at night, and I'm looking at my computer, and Bowie came to mind somehow. And I thought, man, Bowie, he's been What happened to Bowie? Yeah, he's just like, not persona non grata. He's just like, AWOL, I guess is really the way to put it. He's just like, where's he been? And I thought, is he okay? Is he sick? Is he like, I thought he just like, he went so silent. I thought he went silent in that way that people are like on their way out, go silent. I thought, fuck, I wonder how Bowie's, and I start having this like, shit, I hope Bowie's okay. Thoughts. Boom, 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 go on the internet, click, 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 boom. He just dropped a new song. Like right then at this moment, there's a new fucking Bowie song. Like, what? Oh my fucking god! And it's the song on here called, and it's the song on here that is called "Where Are We Now." "Where Are We Now" is the first song that he put out ahead of this record, and it's this really moody ballad that's just so good. And I listened to it and I fucking cried. I was like, oh my god! Evidently Bowie's not dying, and this song is fucking incredible. And so, yeah, I bought this record when it came out, and I really like it a lot. I don't think it's one of his best albums, but it's a really good album. Like, those last two Bowie albums, Bowie went in, I think he knew he was unwell when he made this record. So with those last two records, he didn't go, okay, I need to try and have hits. He went, I'm making good fucking records. Records that I can go out on. Records that are like, know. And this is just one of those records. It's kind of in that vein, in that kind of heathen realm, know, kind of thing. And
Heatheny.
Yeah. So, Bowie, The Next Day. Could there be a worse album cover?
Oof.
It's a really terrible album cover. But, good Bowie album. Number 6. Some Paul Core for you. The Ocean Blue. The Ocean Blue with Ultramarine. Now, this is actually the comeback of the Ocean Blue, because they kind of...
To my good friend, you are so great.
Oh, this is Ed. I told the story about how Ed, yes, this is Ed. But, yeah, shout out to Ed. Thank you to all you guys for signing this album, and especially for Ed for writing such a nice thing. It's such an over-the-top thing that I thought he was busting my balls or something. But, yeah, this is their comeback album. They started touring and playing shows again long before they did this, but this is their album that's basically the official return of them as a studio entity. And kind of like, this has been a thread as in recent episodes where a band kind of goes out on a record that's not as good, and then they come back with an album that's way better than the album they went out on. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like their batteries are refreshed on this. Okay, number 5. Iggy and the Stooges with Born to Die. Now, you'll remember I talked about the Stooges reunion album, The Weirdness, and was just like, this fucking album's good. This one is way better than the last one. Like, this is a legitimately good Stooges album. Is it as good as the original 3? Of course not. But this is a good Stooges album. I felt like Iggy was kind of weak on the last one, like he was imitating himself. Like, this one is just... Well, they got James Williamson back on this one. So this is the raw power lineup kind of vibe.
Okay.
And he kind of brings... He like, James Williamson kind of brings it. Like, he has that guitar sound. The songs are good. Iggy sounds good again. This is a good one. I was going to buy it at the time, and it slipped through the cracks. I never bought it, so I don't have one here to show. Okay, so my number 4... I guess it's kind of Paul Core. I've talked about him before, but I guess maybe this is this is my 3rd time I've talked about him. The Silver Seas, the band that were once the Bees. Yes, with an album called Alaska. Now, this record, it sounds like a lot of my favorite Josh Rouse stuff, and I was just noticing this, and I was looking up stuff about them last night, because I like these albums, but I'm not really deep in with them as far as knowledge. I don't know a lot about them. I just know I've listened to the records and I really like them, and I have a couple of them. But I'm listening to this and I'm going, man, this just sounds like the best Josh Rouse stuff. Well, it has that kind of late 70s AM Gold vibe that I love so much. Well, in fact, it turns out that that Daniel Tashian, that's how you pronounce his name, he's like the singer-songwriter of the band. He's the front guy. He actually co-wrote 2 of the best songs on my favorite Josh Rouse album, Nashville. Oh. Yeah, and Josh Rouse co-wrote a song on this. So it's like, oh, boom, no wonder they sound like they're linked. They literally know each other and have worked together. So, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, so if you're a Josh Rouse fan, check out the Silver Seas. You will like it. It even has kind of a Josh Rouse's voice, I think, you know. It's really good stuff. And the thing about this stuff is that, well, like I said, it has that late 70s AM Gold vibe. It's that kind of songwriting. It's just, it has that sort of melodic... It's melodic in the way that 70s stuff was melodic. It has that thing that stuff had, and it's earthy in the way the 70s stuff is earthy. All right, and it's not dry. Number three. My number three is the glasses off. I would like to introduce you, Crystal, to an artist by the name of Charles Bradley.
I've never heard of him. Wow. Okay.
With his second album, Victim of Love. Oh man, I'm trying to say, is this better than the first one? No, it's as good as the first one. It's a little different. I mean, not different. I mean, it's still him doing the same shtick. It's still late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah.
You know, retro soul vibes, but. You know, he kind of dips into other, like he has some like overtly 60s, like not even remotely 70s kind of vibes on here, almost Motownish kind of things on it. Really great. I keep wanting to go back to look at the back for the song titles, but this record, okay. When this record was coming out, it was about to come out. You know, Charles Bradley was at that point, he was playing the Music Hall of Williamsburg, and he was going out on tour and everything, so he wasn't doing clubs anymore. And he did a record release show at Pianos, and it wasn't something that you could just buy tickets for. It was kind of like, you know, you had to know somebody or be involved in a label or whatever. Well, my roommate at the time, Julie McKim, shout out to Julie McKim.
Hey, Julie.
She was my roommate down on Madison Street back then. She knew somebody who got us in. And so we went to this show. Oh, man. It possibly the best Charles Bradley show I ever saw. And I have a little video that's on YouTube. Maybe I'll put the link to that down there, where you can see Charles Bradley at Pianos. It's so fucking good. The clip that I shot is one of the songs on this album. And it's so great that, like, it makes the track on this album sound limp. Like, he's just like... And yeah, it was just, that was definitely one of those shows where, like, wow, I can't believe I'm at this show, that I got to see this. And because we were right up front, and what's Pianos? I mean, the back is the front at Pianos. I mean, let's just be real. And you know, and anybody who's been to Pianos, you've been to Pianos, you know, there's the upstairs area. You know, afterwards, you know, you go upstairs where the bar is, and like Charles is just there hanging out. So I had him sign my record, and he writes, "Thank you, letter brother." From Charles Bradley. Charles was you know, he had been illiterate.
Oh, he's trying to say
at one
little
time,
brother?
But when things started to happen to him with music, he brought in a tutor. There was a woman who used to come to his apartment every day, and she taught him. She taught him to write. She taught him to read, and he had a tough life. I mean, like, he got to his 50 through his 40s and into his 50s. And he was illiterate. Jesus. So he had it rough. And so he writes Little Brother because he's sounding things out. He doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't, it's like he didn't know the word was little or letter. I don't know what but anyway, Charles was really, really, really a sweet, sweet, sweet guy, and really kind, and, you know, and yeah, anyway, there you go.
Nice.
That's that. But before I continue on my list, technical difficulties. All right, so that was my number 3. That was my number 3. Sorry, technical difficulties we have here. But my number 2, Paul McCartney with New. Yeah, now, really good late period Paul McCartney album, I'm telling you. There's at least a couple songs on this album that I can't stand, but most of this record is so good. And the thing that's great about McCartney is that he doesn't just go in and go, oh, I'm Paul McCartney, so I have to do Paul McCartney songs. I have to try to sound like the Beatles. I have to try to sound like Wings. He does new shit. Like, he's always going forward. But he's so musical, and he's one of those people who can just spit out a song in his sleep that even when he's doing more kind of modern sounding stuff, it just works. It just works. He's just so good at it, and so many good songs in here. His voice is starting to falter here, but it's nowhere near as bad as it gets. Like, it's completely listenable still at this point. But yeah, man, I mean, I want to list songs here. Do I have them listed here? Oh, I do have them listed. Oh yeah, the opening track, "Save Us," is one of his strongest album openers. Period. I mean, it's not as good as, Band on the Run or, those kind of album openers, but man, it's a strong opener. Alligator, Queenie Eye, New, the title track, Appreciate. Oh, everybody out there, I can bet, McCartney. Now let's see if I can get this back up here in a reasonable amount of time. Look, I did it. Yay! But my number one. Oh shit, my number one. An album that I love so much, and this is a blank stare album if ever there was one.
Uh-oh.
Psychic Friend with My Rocks Are Dreams. Psychic Friend. Psychic Friend basically is Will Schwartz of Imperial Teen.
Oh.
See, Imperial Teen is two guys, two women. It's Roddy Bottum and Will Schwartz. And Joan Stebbins and Lynn Perko. I remembered her name this time. Woo! This is a Will Schwartz side project. He was going through this period where he was messing around on the keyboard a lot, and he was just writing all these keyboard-based songs, all these piano-based songs, and he just had this whole set of songs that he'd collected, and he got a drummer in there and kind of made a little duo with him, keyboards and a drummer, and made this record. And I think it's incredible. I think it's better than any of the Imperial Teen albums. This is his masterpiece as far as I'm concerned. The opening track on this is a song called "We Do Not Belong." There's a video for it. The song is incredible. The video is incredible. I don't even know what to tell you. It's a lot of, there's some 80s vibes. There's some kind of 70s vibes. It's just really good, classic, strong songwriting, melodic songwriting, and. Yeah, this was easily my number one. I didn't even think about it. When I made this list, I put this right at number one. I didn't even have to go, he, ha, number one. This one. Easy.
Interesting.
So there you go.
Psychic Friend.
I can't hear you.
No, I'm sorry. I said very interesting, Psychic Friend. Now I want to listen to that.
Now you want to listen to it.
I do.
Well.
Oh, but can I circle back to what you said about you thought that there would be two albums that I could have had on my list?
Charles Bradley.
Could.
And maybe Bowie? You don't like the Bowie record?
I don't really like that record. I don't. Not enough to put on a list. And the Charles Bradley, he is phenomenal and he is really great. And I'm not saying that he's a one-note guy, but I like his other stuff more than I like that. And you definitely have a more visceral connection to him than I do. Yeah, I do. That's kind of true. I think the live experience that we had together, which I think is the one time you saw him. No, I saw him another time indoors. When the sun wasn't shining down. When the sun wasn't shining down on us, yeah. Binky, I forget where it was, music hall or something. But your connection to him is a lot more stronger than mine is. Not to say that I'm dismissive of him in any way, but it's just different. And those two records, yeah, they're good. I know them. But for me, not enough to put on a list. All right. That's just me.
Okay.
All right. Well, that is that. And, right? Yeah. Well, that was my number one, so I don't have anything above number one.
Do you have zero?
Zero.
No, that's your list. You're the one that's going to have zero. All right, everybody. Thank you for watching. And I'm kidding. Actually, thank you for watching these commercials.
The end.
That's me, Iggy Pop, the rock legend. And you don't become a legend without trying a couple things. Come on. I've seen the weirdest things, met all sorts of people, done the freakiest shit. But you know what's best about trying the strongest stuff?
Ready?
That there's always something stronger waiting for you.
It's too much for me, Dad.
Don't worry, James. We can try again next year.
It's Iggy.
Atrévete a probar el nuevo Schweppes Limón Dry. Un refresco solo para adultos.
I think we're back.
Oh, we're back.
I think we're back. And I think it's Tommy's turn, right?
It is indeed my turn.
Tommy time.
Yeah.
So, oh boy. So Crystal, as you remember,
A river of sighs.
had nothing whatsoever. Paul, however, has been going on for an hour and 45 minutes.
I've got to make an episode out of this shit.
So I've got to somehow come in right between the two of you.
He has to carry that weight.
I've got to be the lukewarm water between the
The iceberg and the hot springs.
Yes.
Okay.
Unfortunately, and I thought I went into this, I was like, I'm going to be, oh boy, I'm going to be the shame of this episode. And somehow somebody had less albums on her list than me, because I have a list of 1 albums.
One album.
One albums.
One albums. Is it the Guns N' Roses Use Your Illusions?
And I didn't, and I cannot believe that somebody came in and bid $1 is what happened here. And somehow I managed to lose.
Is it Chinese democracies?
It is not. So the one single solitary album I have for 2013, and I'm telling you guys, I tried. In the 11th hour, literally last night, Melissa was staying up with me, and she's like, okay, I'm going to find a whole bunch of stuff and send it to you, and you listen to it, and you think it's good enough for 2013. And I rejected all of it. It was just all no good.
Wow, so we actually had two people
brains.
working simultaneously on this.
It was like a desperate last ditch effort last night to get something more than just one album, and I had my wife helping me, and I still could not get more than one album.
Wow.
And that one album is Lizzo Bangers by Lizzo.
Good
Her
grief.
first album.
Okay.
Which is mostly hip hop.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And that's all I got.
Do
That
you
is
not like
all I
Lizzo?
got.
Do you like? I can't speak.
I did not. I really didn't like that record. I think she got better with time.
It's totally different than once
Yeah.
Cause I Love You comes out, it's like, who is this woman?
Yeah, completely different.
This one's really fun. The EP and the album between this and Cause I Love You are very experimental. She's really playing with her sound. This works. It's just a different thing she's doing.
It's okay, but I didn't. And are you suggesting that I'm a loser because I'm single? Is that what you're saying?
What?
Because he has a wife to help him with shit, and I'm all by myself. Is that
that's definitely what he was
I
saying.
have a husband, so he's calling me out on being single.
Christ, this took a turn.
Wow, that's rough.
I don't even know how to steer this ship anymore. Paul, I'm out. You handle this motherfucker. I'm not touching this. I'm not going near this shit. That is the hottest of hot potatoes. Paul?
I'm leaving you guys to it.
Unsubscribe. But not to this show.
Zero.
Well, I don't know,
subscribe
man.
to this show.
The way this shit's going, there might be some unsubscribes.
I don't know.
Stars.
Well, come on. All right, let's be real. People out there in TV land.
You people, you kids.
What were you honestly expecting from us for 2013?
I mean, seriously.
I mean, truly.
Except for Paul.
Who's
Yeah.
who somehow.
My well, I will put it to you this way: my weakest decade for this whole project is the 2000s. This is a stronger decade for me. Like I don't have any short lists for this.
This is a stronger decade for me too, and look what I'm doing here.
But I'm just saying, like, spoiler alert. I have 10 all the way down the line.
This shit, okay, so one album this episode, the last 2 episodes I had 4 albums each, and I knew going into it how that was looking, and I still said at some point, things really pick up for me once we get into the teens. This is what I mean!
This is
what I mean by picking up for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, even in the 2000s, I think there were a couple years in the 2000s, definitely in the 90s, where I had shorter lists.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember
that happened
that.
to me a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's going to be happening for me
All right.
anymore for the rest of this series.
Well, somehow. Paul is somehow magic, and
Well, just things have changed. Like there are certain types of things that are coming out now that are just more. There's more stuff that's for me that's coming out these days.
Okay.
Than
Agreed.
Than
dig it.
was coming
I can
out
dig it.
without 2000s and certainly in the 90s.
Well, I'll tell you. Look, I tell you one thing is certain in this world, and that is when we move on past this segment, get through a commercial break, and start on the hate. I think everyone's going to bring it. I think everyone's about to bring it. I have a feeling. Unless Crystal just threw her hands up in frustration because it was just all wrong, no good.
No, I have stuff that I hated. Yeah.
Okay.
You probably had a lot of stuff to eat.
So
Yeah.
clearly we did.
Okay,
So all right, so let's move on from this insanity. Let's get to a commercial break.
Okay, well, all right. That's a good suggestion. All right.
Okay, you guys, smile. Jeanette. Game on, Ariana. What? Really? But how did she? Well played, Grande. Well played. Wow.
Go to nick.com/Nesquik and break out the bunny.
Song that I can't stop singing over and over is "Let Me Roll It."
Wings. Oh.
I love that
That's
song.
a good fucking song.
Side 1 of that album is a perfect. I talked about this
Yeah,
before.
it's
I don't
great.
think side 2 lives up to the hype. Side 1, you can't improve on side 1.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty fantastic.
But so we're back.
Hey, we're back. Oh, hey.
Yeah.
And we have the tall order of trying to hate 2013.
How can we possibly?
Crystal, do you think you can manage it?
I've managed it. Again, mostly question marks. I got King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
Meow.
King Gizzard and the Wizard Lizard.
Yeah. Man.
They put out a record.
Now,
Self-titled.
Ishkabibble.
now is your question just about the name? But have you
No,
listened to that
I
record?
listened to 30 seconds of one song. That's all I could do.
I think I've listened to them, but I don't even remember what.
Yeah, I dare
what
you.
I heard.
Go ahead and do it.
Yeah, go check
Try.
out Dairy Queen Blizzard.
King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. Dairy Queen. Blizzard.
The Dairy Queen. The Dairy Queen,
Dairy
Lizards.
Queen Blizzard. Cookie Puss.
And the
Yeah.
Ishkabibbles.
And the Ishkabibbles.
Cookie Opus.
Cookie Opus.
Cookie Opus.
Cookie Opus.
Then I've got Bonnie Tyler.
Yeah.
Oh, she had a new album this year?
Bon Jovi.
Yeah, they always have new albums.
Yeah.
Adam Ant.
He's about to tour again.
Yeah. Let's not talk about that. So the two worst, they tie for terrible. And that is Skrillex.
Oh.
Remember Skrillex? That kid who looked like a dirty mop?
Fortunately, I think most people don't. Boy, talk about 15 minutes being up.
Yeah, so he was a DJ, and he was one of the, I don't think he invented it, but he was one of the first DJs who was all about the drop. Okay, played all this electronical noise bullshit that kids just hippity hopped around to because they were on E, rolling on E. This is 2013, and so he would just like build and build and build and build and be saying then kaboom da da boom da da da, and that became a whole thing with these EDM DJs. They still do it to this day, the drop, and it gives me a headache. So there's that.
That was not how he started out, though.
No, I know it's not how he started out, but he
Played a show with his band
Yeah, I remember this.
from first to last.
Yeah.
Yep.
But this, when he became this,
Yes.
that is what he was known for. Like, what's his name?
That's when he exploded.
That Aoki guy who's a DJ now, the Japanese dude, whatever. So the other thing that it ties with is an Eric Clapton album called Old Sock.
Oh no. Oh no.
Well, it's appropriately titled.
Yeah.
I'll give him that much. Apparently, he's
Let's see.
self-aware.
It is all right. We've got about 7 or 8 hours. You want to tell us your thoughts on Eric Clapton?
7 or 8, that's not enough time.
Okay, moving on then. Sorry.
Go ahead, Paul.
No, we can squeeze it in.
No.
Let's unpack that.
Unpack that. Oh, there's too much Samsonite to unpack all that.
Oh man.
Yeah, Old Sock. Fuck you. Go ahead, Paul.
Okay, well, I have only one thing.
Oh boy.
Oh,
Yeah, I should be able to hate 2013. Well, honestly, I could easily have Well,
Put a
I'm
whole
surprised.
bunch
Of
of
course,
shit.
I could have easily just like filled this right out with stuff, but I kind of hit the wall time wise. So the first thing that I ended up putting as a placeholder on my worst of the year just ended up being my entire list. But it's a doozy. I mean, it is a doozy. Oh, I'm trying to pretend I can read it without my glasses, but I can't because I don't remember the title.
We old.
Boston with Life, Love, and Hope.
Wow.
Oh man. Oh
Boston.
God.
2013 Boston.
Don't. Whatever you do, don't even.
I am not gonna.
Don't
I
even.
can't even think about it because I don't want to
Don't
get a
even
headache.
think about it.
Wow.
It's
Why?
just just go to that first Boston album and listen to that. Then listen to this. It's tragic.
Who is in this band? Is it the same?
Well, the
people?
one, Tom Schultz, of course, but his presence alone should mean that this doesn't happen. But this so happened. It sounds like it isn't just like, okay, you get older and you can't write songs as well as you did before. The guy doesn't even know how to fucking record records anymore. Like, he's putting everything, it just sounds like some kid who just got like some digital equipment and is in his bedroom. That's what the record sounds like.
That's sad.
And the songs are terrible, the vocals are terrible. It's just everything, like, he completely forgot how to do what he did. He was like this Superman coming out of the gate in the 70s, and I don't know what happened.
Was he in a coma? Did he hit his
well,
head?
I mean, like, did he sign a deal with the devil, and like he and the devil are now on the outs, and like it all like vanished
I take it
because he
back.
cannot do that shit anymore.
Spoiler. We're about to circle back around to this.
Well, you know what? Take it away.
Take it away, Tommy.
What else is it?
All right.
Yeah.
So, before I get to that, because I'm getting to that.
Oh yeah, you're gonna be getting to that.
Oh, yes.
And I will say this before we move on. I said that I had this on here as a placeholder, and I didn't fill out the list, so it ended up. But do know this: more than likely, it would have been number one, even if I had other things.
Yeah.
So.
So before we get there, I've actually got dishonorable mentions. There were some things that I just couldn't let pass.
Couldn't let pass.
One of them being "What the ... by Black Flag." Oh boy. Ooh, Lord. You want to talk about tarnishing a legacy? Holy fuck. That reaction you have right now is the same reaction all Black Flag fans have to this album. This is bad with several capital B's. Ooh. So this is Greg Ginn, at this point, is the only remaining member.
He took a break from suing people to make Jamaica right?
Basically, yes. Nobody else that was ever associated with any of the Black Flag records that you want to give any of your fucking time and attention to has anything to do with this album. At all. Okay? So this is just Greg Ginn with, I don't know who the fuck he hired. I could have looked it up. I don't give a fuck. This album is so abominable. It sounds like a bad demo by a shitty band. I mean, it is bad, and it's overlong. It's like 25 fucking songs long, and every one of them is just worse than the previous one. It is so bad. This is notorious in the punk scene for how bad this album is. And let me tell you something. The punk scene is very tolerant of some questionable albums. So you gotta really bring the bullshit for basically everyone to turn their nose up at a record.
Right.
That
It's
you
not
put
a
out.
divisive album. Everybody's on the same page.
No, there is no. This is divisive in that you have the entire rest of the planet and Greg Ginn.
And then him.
Yeah. So basically, you have the Van Halen 3 of.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Hey.
And then follow that up, I've got What About Now by Bon Jovi. Now, Bon Jovi has been putting out just one after another middling fucking bullshit nonsense album that's best ignored.
Yeah.
I decided I can't let this one pass because I need to at least mention it, okay? Bon Jovi, now I know we're not going to be on the same page with Bon Jovi's earlier material, but Slippery When Wet and New Jersey, I think, are stunning albums. They are incredible albums. The problem I have with Bon Jovi is almost all of their recorded output since about the early to mid-90s has basically been evidence that they never believed in what they were doing in the 80s. They did what they did in the 80s because it was what was going to put asses in the seats and sell records. They did it exceptionally well. They had excellent co-writers and excellent producers, and they hit 2 right out of the goddamn park for me. Start to finish, I love those fucking records. But to me, it means that they never fucking meant it.
Well, it also means that a lot of the magic of those records is in the producers and the co-writers. Clearly, the band themselves brought very little to that table, because when you're left to those guys without these guys, what
they have been doing since they've had the ability to basically do whatever they want, because they became a legacy act. Sometime in the mid-90s, they kind of became a bit of a legacy act.
Yeah.
And they would still put out that It's My Life bullshit, which I hated, and it sounded like them trying to... Yeah, it's like they're trying to basically be Bon Jovi, and they can't be Bon Jovi anymore.
That was a very Bon Jovi song, though.
I hated it. I thought it was bullshit.
But it's very 80s.
No, not to me. It wasn't.
Okay.
No. But to me, it's so disappointing, the material that Bon Jovi's been putting out, since they've got the ability to put out whatever they want. If they actually believed in Slippery When Wet, if they actually believed in the music on New Jersey, they could easily go in at any point in time and done another record like that.
Well,
but they won't, because that's not what they want to do.
I think it's a hipness factor. I think what is that they've sort of become this, uncool, sort of maligned thing. Like they probably... It's kind of like the Bee Gees after the disco era, after the fall of the disco era, and they wanted to distance themselves from that. I think Bon Jovi probably like to distance themselves from that kind of stuff, because a lot of people, because they're not considered cool for that.
But the absurdity of that is, if you were to go see a Bon Jovi concert, I mean, first of all, you have to get past the fact that John can't sing at all anymore. But yeah, their set list is made up almost entirely of shit off those 2 records, because that's what everyone loves
to hear. But I guess I feel like they probably want to go, but look what else we do. Yeah, we did that, but look what we do now. I think that seems to be like what their vibe is now.
You're being very kind.
I'm not usually kind to Bon Jovi, but
yes, ma'am. Yes.
So, my question is, hello. No, I don't think that they. I don't think that they didn't believe in what they were doing. I think that they were of a time and a place where what they were doing was what was happening, right? So for them to change along the way, to me, it was a natural progression, because you're not going to be able to do Slippery When Wet in past 2000 something.
Why?
Because nobody's going to listen to that, because that's not what's popular.
No one's listening to their other records.
No, people were
No one's
listening.
buying this shit except for fucking cretins at Walmart.
But people were buying it, okay? You can't go home. When he became building houses in New Jersey and became this amazing citizen and all that shit, people love that stuff. And maybe that's always where his heart was, possibly. But I don't think that those 2 records and that whole thing was a put on at all, because they were too into it. They were way too into it. You saw...
I don't know.
Didn't see them live.
I mean, maybe their tastes changed. Maybe they were into it at the time, and
maybe they did.
I don't think they didn't believe in it. They completely 100% believed in what they were doing. There was no way that they could have done all that shit and not believed in it. If you saw them live, there was no phoning that in. There was no faking it. They were in 110%, all the way. So, changing times, you're getting older. Maybe this stuff was in his periphery, John specifically, because when did Richie quit? Did Richie ever quit?
he got pushed out.
Okay, so maybe he wasn't down with it, and I was like, you get the fuck out, and I'm just going to keep doing what I do, because I'm the name Bon Jovi.
Well, they're all his employees.
Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah.
And it's like, either you're in or you're out. So I don't believe that they didn't believe what they were doing those first 2 albums. There's no fucking way.
I don't know enough about them to say, really.
30 years of shit records makes me really suspicious of it.
But they're shit records to you, which is fine. I don't particularly like them. That's not my steez.
What do you think?
Well, I mean, the Rolling Stones have put out decades of shit records. That doesn't mean that they didn't feel sticky fingers.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, but I'm not even. But what I have to say about it is neither here nor there, because I'm not a fan, and I don't really have any sort of insight, not only based on actual knowledge of them, but even interest. So, I mean, what I say about it, one way or the other, is kind of
look. I mean, these guys were practically focus grouping the fucking material for Slippery When Wet. They would go and they would play their demos to kids in a pizza parlor nearby the studio to see which ones the kids liked more and which ones they didn't, and that's how they decided what songs they were going to keep.
Is that bad?
Well, it just means that they had their eyes on the prize. They were trying to do what was going to get them success at that point in time.
Yeah.
But as soon as that fell out of favor, or they didn't have to do that anymore, they fucking stopped.
But why would you keep going with that?
Well, if you really believed in the art you were putting out, you wouldn't give a fuck what the fucking...
So you think the Beatles should have kept doing I Want to Hold Your Hand instead of Sgt. Pepper?
You know, like, but the Bee Gees dropped disco, and I think they were totally behind those Saturday Night Fever songs, but they were not going to do that shit in 1985. They just weren't.
Times change. Things change. It doesn't mean that it was disingenuous. No way.
I think you know, they may. I think they just had the problem that a lot of those bands had at that time, and they found themselves in an entirely different world. Musically speaking. They went, okay, how do we navigate this?
Like everybody who got their asses kicked by grunge.
Yeah,
either
I
you
think they
sign
just
on
were
or you're done.
Didn't know what to do.
Yeah,
I think they did. And again, I don't know what I'm fucking talking about, but I do think that they were just like, okay, what do we do now?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, what's next?
Well, come at me in the comments if I'm completely wrong about Bon Jovi. Just rake me over the coals. I don't know. I
know what you're saying, but I really don't think that was the case. There's no way. No way.
I mean, there might be let me come in and say this, though. I mean, there may be a little truth to it. I don't think they were just like secretly behind the scenes, oh god, this stuff we're doing sucks, but hey, it sells. Yeah. I don't think it's like that. I think they were into it, but I also do think that if that hadn't been what was big at that time, they wouldn't have come at you with those records. They would have come at you with something.
They absolutely would have done those
that.
records. Yes, they would not have done those records.
But I do think that they were into that while it was happening. Like, okay, this is the box we have found ourselves in. This is pretty awesome. Oh, cool, let's ride this out. I don't think they were going, oh god, fucking
this sucks. I don't know. I can't wait to read poetry.
It just seems a little bit weird to me that in the 30 years plus since, and any number of records they've put out, I don't even know how many it's been, knowing full well what their concert set list is made up of and how many people absolutely adore that early era of the mid to late 80s for Bon Jovi, and not once have they ever done anything for the fans where they just give them a fucking EP of that sound again. Instead, it's all this fucking Americana-influenced bullshit that they've been riding that train for like 3 decades.
For nobody.
That no one fucking cares unless you're, a wall creature.
But they're selling.
I don't know about
they're
that.
Definitely selling. It's not like they had to peddle them through Starbucks. People were going to those fucking shows, and also you also have to consider there's a time capsule. There's a time frame where 20 years from now, if they were still alive, who is going to be alive that just wants to hear Slippery When Wet and the other one? Because okay, maybe they play the records for their kids, and you go like when you go to Kiss shows recently. All right, so it's their 60-year-old parents, their 65-year-old parents or whatever, their kids who are now in their 30s, and then their grandkids because they indoctrinated them to listen to that stuff. But kids right now, like the 27-year-old kid I work with, there's no fucking way he would listen to that stuff. He wouldn't listen to hip hop. He's a black kid. He doesn't even listen to hip hop that we would listen to and love. Who cares? Blah, blah, blah. It's a completely different world. And either you're going to stay on this particular train if you want to keep making money, and if you enjoy it, which John Bon Jovi seems to enjoy what he's doing. I don't think he'd be doing it if he hated it. He would have turned into Jimmy Carter and just been building houses only. You know what I'm saying?
Jimmy Carter hasn't put out a good record in fucking decades,
but he's too busy building houses.
But the thing is, I think he was phoning in that president shit. He didn't mean that.
But he hasn't put out a good fucking record since the disco era, that guy. Come on now. All right.
Wait, was that your worst? We're not even through your list yet.
I still have my actual worst of the year. My actual worst of the year.
Thank you for coming to our TED Talk.
For 2013, what could it possibly be? It would be fucking Live, Laugh, Love by Boston. God damn. Okay, so I'm gonna co-sign everything Paul said, and then we're gonna build upon that. So yes, Tom Schultz.
To start with,
Tom Schultz absolutely came out of the gate like Superman. People could not believe how this was even possible in 1976.
Yeah.
We talked about that when we did the 70s run of albums. That first Boston record sounds like it comes from another planet.
He's positively space age.
Yes.
Yeah, totally.
Especially when that album still sounds fresh and awesome today.
Yeah.
Could you even imagine the impact that must have had in 1976 if you were into rock and roll, especially if you were in a rock band, and this record comes out and you're like, fuck me, do I just hang it up?
Or imagine being one of the few people who were privy to those tracks when they were first recorded in like 74.
Christ.
You know, imagine hearing that shit then.
Like, how is this even possible?
Yeah.
Of course, in hindsight, I know exactly how he did all that. I know what the equipment he used, everything like that. But at the time, it must have seemed like something came from the future. And then the second album comes out, and it got some criticism because it's basically more of the first album. But it's like, we wanted the first album again. We loved the
if
first
they hadn't
album.
done the first album again, people would have bitched that they didn't do the first album again.
Exactly. They were in a no-win situation. And then he sits on his ass and he fucking launches Schultz Research and Design, and then the other guys fuck off and do some solo stuff, and then he's suing the record company and they're suing him, and then 8 years go by and we finally get Third Stage. And Third Stage definitely reflected the change in technology. It reflected how he was changing his recording approach. I like a lot of stuff on Third Stage. Third Stage also feels like an incomplete album. It could have used 2 more big songs on it to feel more like a proper release. The sound isn't quite the way it sounded on the first 2 records, because now he's actually using the analog amp simulators that he was designing at the time. He was using the Rockman Sustainer. He's using his own equipment. He's not really, cranking up Marshalls into power soaks and EQing the living bejesus out of them and everything.
Right. Well, I should say also, he managed to avoid the pitfalls of Chinese democracy, even though he recorded it over the same number of years. It seemed like.
It's
because he wasn't trying to do what was of that moment. He was just doing what he did.
He did.
So that comes out like
sound.
It doesn't suddenly sound like 1978. Like
no.
it was kind of timeless.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was the Boston sound.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not quite up to par with the first 2 records, and I could go on at length for the reasons why, for technical reasons. And then Brad Delp goes off and does some solo thing after the tour for that, and then he's suddenly not available when Tom Schultz finally gets his shit together in time to do Walk On, which came out like 1994. So he promised everyone, we're not going to make you wait another long stretch, and then what is it, another fucking 8 years until Walk On comes out. And I remember when Walk On comes out, and they were doing commercials for it on TV that came across like it was made by the same people that made the Dianetics commercials for Scientology.
Which is appropriate.
I mean, it seemed like the same production value.
Yeah.
And you got like a taste of like the huge soaring guitars and the licks and everything, and only a very little small taste of the vocals. And that's because Brad Delp was not on that album. He got Fran Cosmo, who's the singer of Orion the Hunter, which was a Barry Goudreau side project, to do his best Brad Delp imitation.
Yeah.
And he did an admirable job. He's got incredible pipes, but you want Brad Delp on a Boston record.
Yeah.
And even that record, it's like you could see he kept pushing even further with his recording approach, and it's like it sounds even less organic. And now the Tom Schultz wall of guitars thing is starting to sound a little bit transistory. It's kind of not working quite as much anymore. Maybe you shouldn't do the entire album with your Rockman Sustainers.
Yes.
Maybe you should have busted out the old Plexis and the Power Soaks and the Greenback cabs and mic those motherfuckers up. EQ it for weeks, I don't care. But maybe you went a little too far. And at that point, after that, shit becomes a goddamn train wreck.
Oh, God.
Because now it's like, who's even in this band anymore? Now he's not getting along with the original other 3 guys, Barry Goudreau, Sib, and Fran. They're not talking to each other.
Who the other guitar player? Yeah, he put out a solo album that's actually.
He's done a few.
I only know about one of them.
He's done a few. Yeah, Barry Goudreau's done a few things over the years. But yeah. Like, so it's like it's a train wreck. Now it's the Tom Schultz show. It's officially at this point. There's no pretenses. It's whoever Tom Schultz points at and gives a nod to at any given point in time is now a member of Boston. At one point, he had his girlfriend in the band on bass.
What?
Yeah, his girlfriend in the band on bass. Like, now you're the new, because that's what I want. That's what I want.
Yeah.
I want to hear a Boston album and hear his girlfriend singing lead on some tracks.
Yeah, that's. Yeah.
And then very, very tragically, Brad Delp, who was dealing with a lot of personal demons, committed suicide. And so now there's no Brad Delp anymore. And then we get to Live, Laugh, Love, whatever the fuck this Lufa, whatever. Holy shit.
Terrible.
What this sounds like some local band decided, for a goof, let's record some songs that have a passing resemblance to Boston. So one of them's like, I'll get a Rockman X100 off of eBay and not worry about the condition it's in. We'll just plug that directly into the console.
We won't read the manual on
We won't read the manual how to use it. We'll just plug it directly into the console. I've got a friend with an ADAT machine we can use. Like, this is horrible.
Yeah, it's bad.
This is horrible. So what happened is he pushed it to the point where nobody could tell him anything, and he just got old and lost the plot, and we get to this point, and it's just genuinely terrible. It is absolutely a fucking stain
and
on
all
their
of
legacy.
that isn't even to mention the songwriting.
The songs are not there. They are abso-fucking-lutely not there. And let me tell you something. The song started not being there on Walk On. There's a couple of moments on Walk On where it's like, oh, this is actually pretty hot. I really wish to hell he could have just given Brad Delp enough money to come back off the tour or whatever he was doing
Or
to
just
come and
waited
try
a minute for him.
or just wait another fucking 6 months.
After 8 years.
You couldn't have waited another 6 months to get Brad Delp, because there's a couple moments on Walk On where, like, God damn, I would have loved to have heard Brad sing this. And after that, done. Songwriting has left the fucking room. It is gone. Gone. And there was another album he did after Walk On, Corporate America, which is like deleted. You can't even get it. And it's horrible.
Yeah,
it's abominable.
I do know.
It is so bad. And yet, but Live, Laugh, fucking, what is this actually called? Life, Love,
and
fucking
hope.
love, luck, and lollipops. That's the one. That's the one he's got on social on Spotify and all the streaming platforms. This album is on there. Like, he's proud of it, and it's embarrassing. It's cringeworthy, man.
Yeah, it's yeah. How do you
I don't
fall
know.
to that
I don't know.
point?
I listened to that record again recently in preparation for this, and knowing everything I know about tracking guitars and the magic that went into creating the Boston sound, and I'm listening to this and I'm like, how did this get out?
Yeah.
How did this guy think this was okay?
Yeah, and that's the thing, and I kind of already said this. You know, artists like that, they fall off in terms of their songwriting. They can't sing anymore. But to completely not know how to make a record anymore. Like, not how
I mean,
to.
this
like,
is a
he
guy.
doesn't know how to record a record anymore.
He engineered and produced all that classic Boston stuff.
Yeah.
He put that shit together in his basement while the rest of the band was playing fucking grab ass with a producer in a studio out in LA, pretending they were doing the record out there.
Yeah.
And Tom's just recreating the whole thing in his fucking basement studio to a Scully 12 track. I mean, this guy is a genius. He holds several patents. Okay? I mean, he designed his own line of musical equipment. And it was successful until he sold the company to Dunlop. You know, it's like, how the fuck did this guy forget how to do it? No one tells him what to do. He's got all the money you could ever need in this world, and then more, and then some. You know, he's got his own studio. He has all the time in the world, and that's what he puts out.
Womp womp.
I mean, like, you can see I'm actually passionate about how bad this album is.
It's yeah.
You passionate? No.
Who would have thunk?
All right.
All
well,
right, let's move on.
Looking at my waves here, nearly half of the episode is this hate segment.
And nearly half of the hate segment is about this Boston album.
It is that bad. Believe the hype. Okay, all right. Well, let's go to a commercial. We're only having a couple of those on this episode.
Right.
Let's see what we have here.
Come on, kid. I'm Drew Brees.
And I'm Harry.
Who?
From One Direction. Platinum album.
Dudes, won the Super Bowl.
On the cover.
MVP.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
If you give him the Pepsi, you can be in the band.
Really? And live while we're young.
I thought there's no way Tommy doesn't have this on his list. There's no way. I didn't know that it was going to be number one, or that you were going to have as much of a Tommy's Treatise as you did. But yeah, there was no way it wasn't on your list.
Oh, that wasn't going to escape my attention.
Wow.
All right, everybody, thank you for watching this most unusual Albums of the Year episode.
This was a very special episode.
A very special episode. And thank you for subscribing if you have. If you haven't, subscribe. And if you do subscribe, click the little bell notifications, and come back next week and see where this train goes for 2014. I don't know.
Off a rail? Maybe?
I don't know. Maybe, yeah. Be like the New York subway, Just...
Have we been on a rail for a while?
We haven't been on a rail in many episodes, Crystal.
Yeah. We're like, I don't know, spinning wheels
We're
in
a train
the
left abandoned in a field at this point.
Wait, I know I'm lying in a field of grass somewhere. So it's all in my head.
It's all in my head.
All right.
God.
Okay. See you next week for 2014.
Oh, wait.
Oh, wait, no, we're not going to see just...
No, two things.
Wait a
two
second.
Two things.
No, one things.
How many things?
Two things.
Singular things. What are the two things?
The two things is...
I know what one of them is.
It is...
Vintage Photo Time!
All right, so here's Crystal and me in 2013, and she says, Paul and I singing Take Me With You at my first Purple Rain tribute show at Rockwood Music Hall, Stage 2 in February 2013. During a rehearsal for some kooky show we were in, our friend Robbie Seahag Mangano and I were talking about Purple Rain and how important it had been for us both, how he taught himself to play all the guitar parts when he was 13, and how I watched every showing of the movie on opening day when I was 19. During a rehearsal for some kooky show we were in, our friend Robbie Seahag Mangano and I were talking about Purple Rain and how important it was to us both, how he had taught himself to play all the guitar parts when he was 13, and how I watched every showing of the movie on opening day when I was 19. I asked him if he wanted to do a show playing the album in its entirety, and he did, so I immediately asked Paul to sing with me, and I put together a band and we crushed it after only one full band rehearsal. The place was so crowded they called the cops, no joke. Big ups to Paul for killing it so hard. Big ups to Paul for killing it so hard that he had women falling out in the audience during his performance of The Beautiful Ones. And I have to try and read that as though she's not talking about me. Anyway, sadly nothing from the show is online because at that time Prince was furiously scrubbing the internet of any and all things Prince. And here I am with Terry Walker and Nicole Ray of Lady. I talked about this earlier in the episode. Yeah, this is Lady, and this is the show I was talking about that I saw at Joe's Pub in Manhattan, and this is the night that I filmed those videos that I have a link for down below. And, well, I should correct myself on something that I said earlier in the episode, where I said that they broke up because they'd had a huge falling out, and that's what I read at the time, and that's what I believed all this time, because that's what I had read, but I did a little research before editing this video, and there are interviews where they say they didn't have a falling out, that it wasn't anything to do with that, and that they're still friends. All I know for sure is that they broke up within 2 or 3 months of the show, and well, that's that. And here we have Tommy in 2013, and he says, "This is me finally living back in New York. This was taken on a boat somewhere in the Great South Bay. I was so happy to be out of Florida that I even agreed to hang out on a boat." Alright, so there you go. That is Crystal and me and Tommy in 2013. Alright, so there you go. That's us in 2013.
Yeah.
Hating every minute of it.
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 Come on!
Why haven't any late period Loverboy albums been on our list? Are there any late period Loverboy
I don't think there are.
I don't think there are.
But what's the other thing? We're going to rank the Loverboy albums?
Oh, we're gonna squeeze.
No, not yet.
Oh, no.
We're not
No,
squeezing it yet.
that's the other thing. That is after 2014.
We shan't reveal it yet.
Okay,
we shan't reveal it.
Oh yeah.
So it's just that one thing, vintage.
That's just one thing.
You have to wait.
Yeah.
Can we go now?
Wait. Let's.
I don't know. Let's marinate a little more in 2013. Yeah, let's get the fuck out of here.
Hopefully, you will find it in your heart to come back next week.
Please do.
Bye.
All right, so that was my number 3, and sorry, let me get fucking hair on my fucking face over here.
Fucking fuck.
Fucking hair over there.
Okay, sorry, we were running out of battery, but now our batteries are recharged. All right, so that was my number 3. Now on to my number 2. My number 2. Paul McCartney with New. An album the name hasn't aged very well. This album doesn't quite live up to the
No.
But good McCartney album. This is a really great McCartney album. There's a couple songs on it that I really hate, and you know what? Let's start that again because I didn't restart the audio. Very good. 3, 2, 1. All right. Welcome back to As It Should Be. Paul Berlino here in the world famous As It Should Be Studios.
It's right there.
Crystal Durant in the world famous As It Should Be Studios.
Right there.
I'm here.
Tommy Von Voigt in the world famous.
I don't know where I am.
He's right there.
Am I?
You're there. Yeah, you're
Thanks,
there.
guys.
You're there. You have to look a little harder. You're there. Don't you know? Don't overlook.
You're there.
Don't overlook Tommy.
Yeah.
And in fact, don't overlook Crystal because she is first. She's going to discuss. Actually, I guess I should tell her. Let's do that again.
Okay.
Let's do that again. 3, 2, 1.
Well, all right.